Calgary Flames are in an interesting spot where they're just a few points out of a playoff spot, but also just a few points above being in the bottom 10 of the league, which would practically guarantee that they keep their first round pick. With the Four Nations Faceoff break upon us, General Manager Craig Conroy, as well as the coaching staff led by Ryan Huska, need to answer some big questions in order for this season to be a success. It's safe to say that something big is brewing. We're going to get into all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and let's hop in and talk about these big questions that we mentioned in the intro of this video. And we have a wonderful article here from the Calgary Herald. It is, of course, written by Mr. Wes Gilbertson, and this is a really well written article, and I think it really does spark a lot of thought in the minds of Flames fans, but also hopefully in the minds of the Flames management and coaching staff. But the article, the headline is 5 conversation starters for Calgary Flames management during the Four Nations Faceoff break. Again, we're going to look at all 5 kind of questions posed here, and again, really well written by Mr. Gilbertson, so all credit due to him for this. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on kind of some of these questions, and maybe if you have some answers, maybe some pointers for some of the Flames management. But what will the Calgary Flames hockey operations staffers talk about during this pause in the action? We have a few suggestions. Very excited to see. Let's hop in, get the first one. So can they find a permanent partner for MacKenzie Weegar? This is funny because we've kind of mentioned this over the past couple of videos here on Flames Digest about, Weegar wasn't taken for the Four Nations, and maybe that's because he doesn't have, a great D partner like he did last year with Chris Tanev, when Weegar was able to pretty much do whatever he wanted offensively while also blocking a million shots and playing well defensively. This year, he hasn't had a bad season at all. He's been really good, but he hasn't quite had a permanent partner or just one that's been great. So Weegar, who rolled into the break on a 5-game point spree, has had a rotating door of defense partners. His most frequent sidekick, Daniil Miramanov, has lately been relegated to spare part status, dressing for only 8 of the past 25 games. Weegar has also been paired with Jake Bean and with Joel Hanley, and even a bit with Braden Pahal. We're wondering if Ilya Solovyov could be next. Now, Solovyov obviously looked really good the other day. I know he was a -1 against Seattle, and the Flames ended up losing that game, but he honestly did look good. But he wasn't playing with Weegar. He was playing with Andersson, and Andersson didn't look great. So maybe, once Kevin Ball is back, you would assume he would go with Andersson, of course, and maybe Solovyov could be a bit more of a permanent fix for Weegar. I also thought Joel Hanley has been hands down the best D partner for Weegar this season. Hanley's not a big guy by any means, but he definitely plays a very smart defensive game, and that allows Weegar to play a bit more of his game. So I think there's some good options there in Hanley and Solovyov as well. Pahal and Bean are interesting as a third D pairing. It's definitely a third D pairing. Jake Bean just hasn't been great this season and hasn't looked great at times, especially lately. Pahal has honestly, I think, looked pretty good. He's turned it on a little bit. He didn't have a great start to the season, but has been a lot better. So I think keeping them together makes sense once Ball is back, of course, with Andersson. And either I'd say Hanley or Solovyov for sure. But I'd love to give Solo a bit more of a chance here. Again, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let's get into the next one. So should they stick with the current backup plan? Now, this, of course, is going along with the goaltending situation. So as it stands of right now, the way the season started, it was pretty much, Vladar starts, Wolf starts. Vladar starts, Wolf starts. It was on and off. They'd go back to back kind of thing. Now it's totally Dustin Wolf's team. He is seeing a lot more action now that the Flames think he has developed a little bit more. And the backup plan is, we have Dan Vladar as, a good backup for when need be, when the Flames are on the road playing those back-to-backs and need to stick him in there. But it could be interesting with the trade deadline looming. Dan Vladar is one of those guys who could potentially go for something at the deadline, and he is one of the upcoming UFAs. So should they stick with the current plan, or maybe deal away Vladar and bring up Devin Cooley, who has been doing really well at the AHL level? His season started amazing. It hasn't been quite as good lately, but still, he has had quite the season and definitely deserves an NHL call-up. So should they stick with the plan of keeping Vladar, or maybe, ship him out, see what you can get, and go for Cooley? Please, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments. Let's get into the next question, and this one is very interesting. So how do they solve their search for a right-handed face-off man? A young right-handed center is another way to say that. So the Flames' best right-handed center is their general manager, and that is a fact. And since it's been 14 years since he hung up his gear and transitioned into a front office role, we're comfortable ruling out a comeback. It's unfortunate, but it's not happening. Connie will not be hitting the ice anytime soon. Okay, so if Conroy isn't an option, who can fill Calgary's void for a righty middleman? The Flames continue to be mentioned as a could-be suitor for Dylan Cozens. I mean, day and night you see a new article or video popping up about it. Although the Sabres are understandably hesitant to risk a repeat of the Jack Eichel / Sam Reinhart story, which is true. Even if they do ultimately deal Cozens, who turned 24 on Super Bowl Sunday, it's believed they want an established difference maker as part of the return for the workhorse from Whitehorse. Conroy won't be a major player in the rental market, but if he continues to flinch at the asking price for one of his 20-something targets, he could seek a temporary solution at a low acquisition cost. In the meantime, the Flames will hope right winger Matt Coronato can boost his success rate as an occasional face-off fill-in. The 22-year-old sharpshooter is currently swiping 45.5% of his draws. And in no way is that, insinuating that the Flames are planning on moving Coronato to center. It just so happens that when he goes in, hey, he's a righty and has been winning at least almost half of his draws, better than a lot of the centers on the team. So that's pretty good there. But it is interesting. I don't know. Still, I don't want the Flames to go after Cozens unless it's a real buy low type deal, which isn't going to happen. So I don't know. I don't need to see a Cozens in my life on this team. And overall, it's true. The Flames, it will totally depend on how they do in, the week or two of games leading up to the trade deadline. I know the Flames have quite a difficult schedule up ahead. I know they play San Jose a couple times, but still, other than that, it's going to be quite difficult. So I don't know. I really think the Flames may lean towards being sellers towards the deadline. Not that they have loads that they want to sell, unless they really want to go crazy and, deal guys like Kadri and Andersson. But it'll be interesting. This search for a young right-handed center, I don't know if it's right. I like the idea of maybe going for, a temporary solution, like it says there, a low acquisition cost, maybe more of a veteran guy, just to kind of keep them in the playoff hunt, something that won't cost them much at all. And then again, just try and draft a right shot center in one of the upcoming drafts and then develop him into the player that Conroy is looking for. But that's probably the biggest question, of course, in this video. Next, which Wranglers are ready for a look at the highest level? So which ones are kind of up next or deserve another chance? So when William Stromgren is rewarded with his first NHL call-up, he'll find a couple of familiar faces in the Flames locker room. The 21-year-old left winger was invited to spend Christmas Eve with fellow Swedes Rasmus Andersson and Michael Backlund, a classy gesture from two of Calgary's locker room leaders. It feels like sooner than later that Stromgren will be spinning a solo lap before his big league debut. A second-round draft pick in 2021, he is good wheels, solid size, and has made major strides in 2 seasons with the farm club, with 12 goals and 38 points and 46 loggings as an AHL sophomore. So he obviously has been very good. I think a lot of Flames fans will echo Wes Gilbertson's sentiments here in saying that they would love to see Stromgren come up. He really has made big strides. The other one Gilbertson mentions is Rory Cairns, of course. So he put up 4 assists during a 5-game introduction last month, the sort of numbers that should guarantee another audition before long. Until then, the 22-year-old center will benefit from a big minutes role in the minors and will continue to focus on pushing his pace. Extremely true. It's kind of the exact same thing that happened with Coronato and Peltier last year, where sure, they could have been up in the lineup, but maybe it would have been a better idea to give them real minutes down in the A and develop further, and clearly that worked for Coronato. Another one here, word around the rink, is Yan Kuznetsov, a 22-year-old, has impressed with his steady work on the Wranglers' blue line. Definitely more of a defensive defenseman, so if the Flames still continue to struggle with injuries or want just, a more defensive game, they really should be looking for offense more than anything else, but Yan Kuznetsov definitely could be coming up. Those are all great suggestions. I'd love to know your suggestions down below in the comments. Personally, for me, at some point, I would love to see Sam Morton come up. Maybe hasn't had quite the season many expected, but he's still a really good prospect in my opinion. And why not bring him up, especially if the Flames are kind of out of the playoff picture in the last 10-5 games of the season. Might as well bring him up, a guy like him. Another one I would love to see is Hunter Brustevich. Does it make sense? Not totally. I would just love for him to get a little taste of NHL action. I think that could go a long way for him, and he's just a very exciting prospect, of course. Let me know who you'd like to see. Devin Cooley, obviously, up there as well. Now, the last question here is kind of an interesting one. So, is it too soon to talk extension with Morgan Frost? And it's interesting because I've spoken to a few people about this, including my dad and my brother, about if the Flames should kind of, just go ahead and do it. So, when Frost ripped a top shelf shot Saturday on a 2-on-1 rush, nearly 18,000 fans at the Saturday were all thinking the same thing. Yeah, we could get used to that. Definitely. What a beauty of a goal. Even if that evening ended with a bummer, that stupid Frost penalty, it shouldn't have been a penalty, with the Kraken scoring the winner when Frost served a holding penalty in overtime, there's no doubt that the new guy in number 16 has so far made a strong impression. In 5 games in the Flaming Sea, the Flaming Homer, everyone loves that episode, the prize trade acquisition has potted 2 goals, won 51.4% of his faceoffs, easily the best on the Flames, and added another threat on the power play. And it won't be expensive. Currently, I believe he's on a $2.1 mil contract. He's an upcoming RFA, so the Flames can really easily talk numbers with him. I mean, you'd hope. And it probably wouldn't be too expensive because he's never eclipsed, a super high point threshold. I think his career high is 46 points. So I don't think it could be too expensive. And if you're looking at term here, I mean, why not? He's a center who can win faceoffs and could be part of the future for sure. Definitely needs to develop certain parts of his game, but already you can see he's working on certain things under this coaching staff compared to others where maybe he didn't want to listen as much. But either way, I don't think it's too soon, but of course, the number has to fit what all parties want, which is the complicated part. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. And it comes from yesterday's video, and it comes from Keith. And Keith said, Weegs has had foot problems all year. This team is gassed mentally. If they could channel their mental issues and be way more disciplined and buy in, they'd win more. That's why this break, obviously, is good for rejuvenation. Cannot give opposition power plays, and we have to somehow draw penalties and score. True offense has been a big issue, as has the penalty kill. Rash should have stayed home. He'll look like a he'll look like dog shirt to finish the year and is needed for big minutes. Yeah, it's always fun to represent your country. No one should have any ill feelings towards Raz for obviously wanting to represent his country, and it's fun as a Flames fan, even if, a little rest could have been needed. Miro needs to sit and Solo be in his spot. True. Hopefully Ball is 100% and mean and nasty when he's back, because we miss having a big hitter back there. We miss having just a big defensive guy. Ball isn't necessarily a mean or nasty guy that throws the body around a lot, but he makes a difference defensively. And then ended it off nicely here. Rest up, fellas, and be back ready to go. Hopefully they have a great break and then work hard towards the end of the break here so that they can get in very good game shape. But overall, hopefully this break gives the Flames what they need, and they can either make that push for the playoffs or just completely fall off and get, a top 5 pick. Maybe we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe like we saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.